welcome. You're watching Head to Head. I'm Antonina Antosha with UATV. On November 22nd, Ukrainian Film Week, called Focus on Ukraine, will kick off in Strasbourg, France. The program of the event will include a showcase of some of the best and most notable Ukrainian films. To talk more about this, we're joined in the studio today by Pylyp Illenko. He's the head of the Ukrainian State Film Agency. Hello, and thank you for joining.
Hello.
So, there's been a number, and is going to be a number of film weeks around the world, and the one in Strasbourg is the most talked about. So, is this the first time Ukraine is participating in the film week in France, in Strasbourg?
No, it's not the first time. Not the first time in France. Not the first time in Strasbourg. Well, Strasbourg is one of the European capitals, so it's very important for us to make a presentation of Ukrainian films there. We are doing it for the second year. Last year was the first edition of this Ukrainian Film Days in Strasbourg, and it was very successful. There was even terrorist alert during the opening of this Ukrainian Film Days.
Oh, so that was a form of PR.
The police got the notice that someone has put a bomb at the red carpet of our festival, but of course there was no bomb, but it made impossible to use the red carpet, and all the guests have to come inside through the back door. But nevertheless, it was a full house, and no one was scared. But I think that someone is afraid of Ukrainian cinema and trying
is that a good
to
thing? Do you consider it to be a good thing?
Seeing it. I consider such things when they happen that we are doing some serious things.
Okay, let's talk this year. Last year was a bit alarming, as you have just described. Hopefully this year it will be more calm. But which pictures, which films did you select to go and amaze the friends and international film public?
We have selected different films, as usual. Most of them are recently presented this year, and Ukrainian cinema is diverse, and it has films in different genres, on different topics. And
well, how many of them are going to go to France this year?
Actually, I don't remember the exact amount, but usually it's 5 to 7 films. And of course, one of the most important will be the Donbass by Sergei Loznitsa.
Other than Donbass, what kind of algorithm did you follow to while selecting the movies to go and present at Strasbourg Film Week?
Well, actually, I wasn't selecting any. Usually, this is
the experts then.
Done first of all by the people who organize this event on the spot, by the Ukrainian embassy and the ambassador of Ukraine to the Council of Europe, Mr. Kuleba, who is following, of course, the news about Ukrainian films, and the selection was done by the organizers who helped to do that, by the embassy, and with some advice from our employees of the State Film Agency.
Okay, well, Film Week in Strasbourg is yet to come. Yet there is another film week that is over already, and that has been held in London.
Yes, and there is also a Film Week, Film Days in Prague, which also just
we will talk about it a little
ended.
later. Let's come back to London first. Now, how did we do in London? What was the feedback?
Our agency wasn't organizing the film days in London. It is done by the Molodist Film Festival with the support of the Ministry of Information of Ukraine.
Yeah, do you have any information?
We just submitted our films there because most of the films presented on these film days have been done with the support of our agency, but as far as I follow the news about the presentation of Ukrainian films in London, it's also a successful one, and there is a great interest from the audience to Ukrainian films.
And what about the Film Week in Prague you just started talking about?
The same. My deputy head of the agency has just returned from there. He was presenting the films himself personally, and he told me that there were a lot of people, and the interest of the audience was very high, and maybe because people in Czech Republic know Ukrainian cinema, because each year we have a film, a competitor in, or maybe two competitors as previous year, in the main film festival in Czech Republic, Karlovy Vary International Film Festival, which is one of the most prestigious one in Europe, and it's Class A film festival. And this year we had there also a premiere, Volcano by Roman Bondarchuk, and it was also screened in Prague this time.
I have studied the programs from all of the 3 film weeks we've just talked about, and they all have different programs concerning Ukrainian delegation. Why so? Why do we present different films at different
There are some practical things, and well, the first practical things that some of our films have international sales agents, and in order to and this sales agent sometimes has some commercial plans for this market, or has already shown this film on the market, so there is no need to show it once again. So it is one thing that influences it. The second, the film might have been shown on some important film festival in this or that place. This also influences on the selection, and also the possibility of the crew to come, and our partners who help to organize these events, who are present there, they are always receiving some, questions from the local audience that, for example, we would like to see this film or that film because there was some information in local press, for example, and this all influences. And some films are not ready, for example, but in this case, these events are almost simultaneous.
So it's time management.
But if it's a month's difference from these events in time, it might be also that this film or that film was not ready yet, and then it was shown on the next one. Okay.
Speaking of local audience, which country or the viewers of which country are the most interested right now, currently at this point, at Ukrainian cinema, at the products of Ukrainian cinema?
It depends. Of course, we feel more feedback in the countries where there is a strong Ukrainian diaspora, but when we do such events as Ukrainian Film Days, we try to address not only the ethnic Ukrainians or Ukrainian citizens who live there. We try also to bring the general audience there, and also we try to bring people who know nothing about Ukraine, because it's the way to communicate with them, it's the way to tell the stories about our country, about our nation, and to make them more familiar with what is Ukraine, who are Ukrainians, and what do we do, what do we want, what do we fight for, and how do we live, and what are our cultural contexts and historical traditions.
For the past 4 years, the theme of the war has been one of the most popular among directors in Ukraine. And of course, there are a number of films, strong films, powerful films that tell the story about the war in the east of Ukraine. Do you personally think that this is the right way to educate international community about the true situation that is happening in Ukraine? Does it actually work?
Yeah, it actually works, and it works much better than the news, and it works much better than all the other things, because it has emotional message. It's not just storytelling. It's a dramatic storytelling, and it's always a story of some specific person or group of persons which is told, and this makes the audience be empathic with the main characters, and this gives them more emotional message rather than just news, which they, frankly speaking, are not often appearing in the Western media, because they know more about Syria, they know more about other things, Iraq and Afghanistan, but not situation in Ukraine. And for almost 5 years since they've been listening to this news, they don't pay as much attention as they can pay to some emotional story which they will watch in the film.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
That was Pylyp Illenko. He is the head of the Ukrainian State Film Agency. Thank you so much for watching UATV. Stay tuned for more.